Hey there. So we all do it, right? We're scrolling through our feeds, looking for tips on how to eat better, get healthier, just feel good. But what if I told you that a lot of the advice you're trusting is actually a paid advertisement in disguise? Yeah. Let's dig in and see who's really behind the health tips filling your screen. It's a pretty bold question, I know. Is your health advice for sale? I mean, when you see a doctor or a popular dietitian on your feed, you'd think you're getting their honest expert opinion. But are you? Or are you watching a very, very carefully crafted ad? It turns out that line is getting blurrier every single day. So here's the deal. You need to understand that your social media feed has basically become a battleground. There's this huge, well-funded effort by massive corporations to use the very people we trust online to shape what we believe about health, about food, and about medicine. It's a fight for your attention, and it's happening right there on your phone. The strategy here is actually pretty simple when you break it down. Companies know that we're all a bit skeptical of traditional ads these days. They don't really work on us anymore. What these companies need and what they seriously lack is credibility. And guess who has that? Influencers. They have it in spades. So corporations are just buying it. Okay, so how deep does this rabbit hole really go? I mean, to really get the full picture of this whole influence machine, you've got to do one thing: follow the money. And trust me, the numbers are probably going to surprise you. Yeah, you are seeing that right. Over $500,000. That's what a top-tier influencer can make for a single sponsored health post. Like one of those 60-second videos. For that kind of cash, you really have to start wondering, what kind of message is being bought and sold? And listen, it's not always a direct payment from, big food company incorporated. A lot of the time, the money gets funneled through these big public relations firms. And what that does is it creates this layer of separation, which makes it way, way harder for you to see who's actually paying for the message you're hearing. And here's the really sketchy part. A lot of this happens completely in the shadows. In the US, the FTC has these really clear rules that say influencers have to tell you when they're being paid. But get this, a staggering 40% of them just don't. That means nearly half the time you're watching sponsored content, you don't even know it's an ad. It's a totally fair question. Why all the secrecy? Why not just run a normal, straightforward ad? Well, it all boils down to a massive, and I mean massive, breakdown in public trust. Let's just look at the pharmaceutical industry for a second. Since the year 2000, they've paid out over $126 billion in penalties, and more than $60 billion of that is tied directly to cases involving actual patient harm. I mean, wow, that kind of history just completely erodes public confidence. So when your own company's reputation is in the gutter, what do? Well, you find someone with a great one and you pay to use it. That's the whole strategy in a nutshell. These corporations are essentially borrowing the credibility of doctors and dietitians and wellness gurus to deliver their message for them. And don't think for a second that this is random. Oh no. There is a very specific corporate playbook at work here, complete with talking points and messaging strategies, all designed to serve their interests, not yours. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual tactics they use. Does any of this sound familiar? Those myth-busting videos that debunk any concerns you might have about sugar or seed oils? Or posts telling you that ultra-processed foods are totally fine? Or my favorite, that the key to obesity is just to exercise more, don't worry about your diet. These aren't just random opinions. They are carefully crafted narratives that, more often than not, protect corporate profits over your health. Okay, so the problem is pretty clear. But here's the good news. Awareness is your superpower. Once you know what you're looking for, you can start to see right through the manipulation. So I'm going to give you a super simple checklist you can use. All right, use this 4-step check. First, ask yourself, who really benefits from this message? Second, what's the solution they're offering? Is it always a product you have to go out and buy? Third, who's the bad guy in their story? Do they spend all their time attacking alternative ideas like changing your diet? And finally, is the conversation nuanced, or do they just completely dismiss legitimate concerns without any real discussion? This is your toolkit. This is how you cut through the noise. Because at the end of the day, this is all about reclaiming your own health journey and making the best possible decisions for yourself. So, let's put the corporate messaging right next to what genuinely empowering health advice actually looks like. When you see it side by side like this, the contrast is just wow. It's crystal clear. On one side, you have the corporate story, focus on processed foods, pills, and lots of secrecy. And on the other, you have what actually helps you, a focus on whole foods, prevention, total transparency, and, most importantly, independent thinking. The difference is night and day. It really makes you think, doesn't it? The most simple, timeless advice, eat real food, move your body, get some sleep. That stuff doesn't have a massive marketing department or a billion-dollar budget. It just doesn't need one. So I'll leave you with this one thought. As you're scrolling through your feeds from now on, just ask yourself, is this piece of content empowering me with real knowledge, or is it trying to manipulate me into buying something? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know. Thanks for tuning in.